First engagement.
It was the first time I got blown up by a suicide bomber was on that deployment. This kid walked out, he must have been 13, 14. I walked past him and I remember it going bang behind me. And I'm going to be honest with you, the first thing I thought was, fucking hell, I'm glad that whatever it is, it wasn't me.
So how long was it until you found out that you had killed him?
That night.
Days?
I've been in a bunch of ID blasts now. It's so difficult.
Especially when your hands are tied.
It was the first time I ever engaged anybody was on that deployment. It was the first time I got blown up by a suicide bomber was on that deployment. Dealt with casualties on that deployment. It all happened, but it was quite steady tempo, if that makes sense. Unlike the next deployment where it was just straight off the bat, fucking full send. But I did learn a lot.
What was your first engagement?
It's actually quite a funny story. I mean, I shouldn't say it, but it's quite funny. So we were given a warning, basically, that there was a suicide bomber on a motorbike, dressed in black, shaved head, and there was two of them. And we were told to stop anyone that looked or fitted that description. Now, you've been to Afghanistan. That's not uncommon. The shaved head's a little bit rare, but apart from that, you see that shit all the time, so it's very difficult. But I remember I was on a sentry position overlooking this big dust bowl. It was probably about 600-700 meters open area, and we had a patrol, a satellite patrol that had gone off. And this motorbike blew through an Afghan checkpoint across this open ground, and someone had fired a pen flare, you know, the little pen flares. That was we had an escalation process. So it was like pen flare, warning shot, lethal force, etc. So the guy on the bottom sanger had done that whole thing. He fired the pen flare, fired a warning shot, and this dude was driving across, and it was the right people. So I'm up there with a mini-me, so it's like a saw, right? So I'm like, fuck it, like.
A belt-fed machine gun.
It was a fucking belt-fed machine gun, yeah. And I was good with it. That was my weapon system, like. I'm pretty good at dishing out the shit with a belt-fed weapon system, and that was my gun, and I knew what to do with it. So I'm out, boom, and I see it's like something out of a film. Like you just see the rounds coming up, all this dust bowl coming up, all this dust would go, and then the bike would keep going. And I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm not even hitting this dude. And I'm like, so I unloaded the belt. It was a 50 round belt. And you can just see it was like someone out of a cartoon. It was like every time the rounds would hit the ground and the dust would come up, the bike would come out at the end of it. And I'm like, I'm there. So I'm not leading it. I'm trying. I can't be missing. There's no chance I'm not hit this. And it drives off, goes through the thing, and I'm like, fuck. Like this is my moment. Like I've been waiting for this. Not waiting for it, but like this is what I've been preparing for. I'm training for this, you know. And I fucking missed the dudes. I didn't fucking get them. So I'm fucking embarrassed. My patrol, or the other half of the patrol comes in, and they're all laughing. They're like, fucking hell, what the fuck were you doing on that sanger with that machine gun? And I'm like, fucking hell, dude, I'm trying to hit. This is about 400 meters, a moving target. It's not an easy shot, but I have got a belt-fed weapon that I do know how to use. And I'm like, fuck, dude, I don't know. I was leading it. I had it on my sight. It was on iron sights, but I was like, I had it. I just can't believe it. I'm sorry. He goes, no, we did see some blood when they came through this little gate, this little entrance where the bike went. He's like, yeah, there's blood there. Like, you might have got something. It wasn't until that night we went out and did a patrol, overwatch patrol for these convoys that used to come in. And we just have to basically picket the line. It was a pain in the ass, but we had to go and do it like 6 hours, just sat on a roof sometime. And the A&A commander came up and he was like, yeah, you killed two Taliban commanders. I was like, what do you mean? Is that, yeah, they turned up at the local mosque and they'd been fucking riddled all up the side and on the legs. Fair play to the dude on the bike, he kept going. But like, yeah, we got him, I got him. And it felt like a bit of a weird one for me because I was like, you expect to see the results of that. Does that make sense?
I know exactly.
Do you know what I mean by that?
I know exactly what you mean.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
What caliber was it? I'm just curious.
5.56.
See, that's something we learned in I think it was 2006, is we would be hitting guys. And we wouldn't realize that we were hitting them because, you know, the velocity and the green tip rounds, the armor-piercing rounds would just fly right through them. And then you would see them, and they had the little bitty pinholes.
Yep. It's not what you think.
You know, and then we started stacking our magazines and doing 2 green tip, 177 grain, 2 green tip, 177 grain. And once we switched to 77 grain, a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting that it took so long for those lessons learned to kind of percolate throughout all of the military.
I had no idea.
All of it.
Yep.
And it's like nobody was communicating that.
No.
We shouldn't have been using green tip.
No.
We weren't fighting guys with body armor.
No.
And so, actually, I think we were doing 2 77s and 1 green tip. That way we could punch through a car easier.
Yeah.
this building.
What do you think, Shawn?
We're high.
So how long was it until you found out that you had killed him?
That night.
Days?
It was that night. Yeah. Which for me, it was more a sense of relief. I'll be honest. Like, I don't attach much, certainly no empathy for them. But it was kind of it was anticlimactic in a weird way. But it was more relief that the guys in the rest of my platoon didn't think I was no good with that machine gun. It was like, I fucking told you. I knew I did. And they're like, yeah, no, good effort. But yeah, it was a bit of a surreal moment. They're like, yeah, they went to the mosque and they bled out. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll take it, you know. But it didn't feel real because I didn't, later on in my career.
You didn't see it.
Didn't see it. Didn't feel it. No, I've been as close as you and me are multiple times with live engagements. That's a different fucking feeling. You can fucking see the rounds rip through a human being that way. But like in this case, it was distance. I don't know if you've ever read that book On Killing. Have you ever read it? It's about proximity, a lot of it, isn't it? In the different natures and types. It's like artillery guys and mortar guys don't bat an eyelid. But if you're this close, it's slightly different. That came later. There was a couple of other engagements I had on that deployment. I dropped a couple of people that were engaging us or manoeuvring around us. But again, the rules of engagement were very strict and professional. It was like we had an escalation process. Now, I don't want to talk about this too much, but what I will say is that coin theory shit about winning the population to win the war and courageous restraint, it cost people's lives because it was not understood and it was not employed, and you're fighting an enemy that does not give a fuck. So whoever came up with that, well done, because I think they've got blood on their hands, in my opinion, because what you did was you restricted a bunch of young Marines, paratroopers, infantrymen from all over the coalition, and you put this stuff in their head, which caused them to have doubt, which then caused them to lose their lives. And I'll stand by that.
It slows the decision-making
Slows the decision-making process. And we'll talk about this later on, but you cannot put doubt in people's minds. You've got to trust people to make the right decision. Like, the Commando Training Center is exemplary as a center of excellence for producing professional soldiers. Do not start to limit them or put their hands behind their backs and send them into these situations with that doubt in the back of their head that if they do something wrong, they're going to go to prison. This is some real stuff, and we'll talk about it later, but this is some real bullshit that needs to be addressed because it costs people's lives, you know. It was a hard tour. It was a long tour. It was the first time I got blown up with a suicide bomber on that one. It was right towards the end of it. We were coming down. Do you ever go to Fob Jackson in Sanger? Did you ever make it up there?
No.
So there's this bridge, basically. I won't bore you with the details, but we were on a long patrol. We were coming back, and it was towards the end. Usually we're very good at keeping distances between people, but this kid walked out. He must have been 13, 14. I walked past him. I walked right past him, and he looked like he looked like he was some sort of disability. He didn't look full ticket, if you know what I mean. And I kind of like watched him walk past, and I remember it going bang behind me. And I'm going to be honest with you, the first thing I thought was, fucking hell, I'm glad that whatever it is, I'm glad it wasn't me. That's my first thought, and I don't care what anyone says. And I've suffered with this for a long time. Like, I've been in a bunch of IED blasts now. I've been blown up with suicide bombers on 3 occasions, 4 or 5 IED blasts in close proximity, and it took me a long time to get over the fact that the first thing I ever thought was, fucking hell, I'm glad it's not me. And I hate that. I hate that about me. I hate that I felt like that, you know, like, but it was. I'll be honest, that's how I felt. Luckily we were all right. The suicide vest was of shit quality. It did more damage to him than it did to anyone else. But we took some fragmentation and some injuries, but nothing catastrophic. Everyone walking wounded for the most part.
But I mean, a lot of times they would use people with disabilities for that.
Oh yeah. Of the 3 times I've been blown up with suicide bombers, I think they're all under the age of 15.
Yeah, I remember in 2005, they would line bicycle tires with explosives and have a kid ride up and try to blow it.
When you're dealing with an enemy that's got that mentality, it's so difficult.
Especially when your hands are tied.
Especially when your hands are tied, you know? Like, as my career progressed, the proximity between me and enemy forces is a fucking hard line for me. Like, you'll get a warning if there's time and it's appropriate. But if you come within proximity of me in those situations, then you can stand by, because I know what's coming. Like, I don't need to be blown up again to learn those lessons. And this is what I'm talking about. You have to transfer experience, hard-earned experience, into learning, and sometimes that takes a little bit of adjustment in the mindset and the mentality that you had or have. But yeah, I certainly learned a lot. That was a good deployment for me, and a good deployment in terms of learning my trade, cutting my teeth, so to speak.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.